Hello, hello. This is Between Two Wheels podcast. Tyler Janke coming to you. Episode 248. Been on a bit of a hiatus. So much so I didn't remember how all this shit works. Last episode, I think it was back when Rain Terme had won something after the Olympics, after the Tour de France. But Tour de France is back, so here I am. Did you miss me? I don't know. I had a bike wreck last July. Had some health issues. What else have I been doing? I don't know. Did I want to entertain you all? Not really. There's a lot of shitheads out there. But I'm back. So I thought I'd talk about the Tour de France. Tour de France started, and I think there's only one way to really do this. It was in Danish area, in the Dutch land. So here we go.
All right, Gold member. Don't play the laughing boy. There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So what do we got on today? Tour de France 2022. Who crashed out? I think one thing I'm doing is fantasy game. I guess I'm going to try to do one of these things. And I decided they didn't have the option of saying which big rider was going to crash out today. Now, no one crashed out that I know of. I don't think there's any DNFs. We'll get to kind of the results, talking about a few things, weather and the sorts. Did anybody crash out? Why did they run a bike race in the rain? Can't they figure that out? The Americans in the Tour de France. Cav is in. Eve is out. No, Cav is out. Eve is in. Richard Moore passed away. We'll talk about a little, maybe we'll get into that a little bit. Richard Moore, the cycling podcast, and gravel racing is murder. Yeah, you probably have been keeping up with that. So it's, well, like I said, it's been a long hiatus. Kind of get back into, I don't know if I'm going to get back into this, but we'll definitely follow the Tour de France. I can't help but do that. I've been following cycling, not really following the local stuff as much. I'm not really racing. I'm trying to get back fit, right? And my fitness went all the way. I broke the back, broke the neck, had some other health issues, then started to try to get back into it. Then was sick. And then I fell through the bleachers at my daughter's basketball game and blew out, really hurt my leg. And then all just kinds of problems. But we're here and we're going to start talking about it. So maybe we'll just go right away to sharing the screen with some results, and we'll just walk our way through the results here on Pro Cycling Stats. I don't even know if you can all see that very well, but and if you are there and you got some comments, woo, what, Brian Zimney. Yeah, Brian, we're back at least for a little bit. So glad you stuck with us today. A little drinking while doing here. That's part of the problem with my bike racing. Just doing a little bit too much of that. So as we could just start out and see, Eve Lampert wins for Quick Step. It started out with some rain. And look, so all the teams, it was almost interesting that the last half of it, I'm watching this thing, and usually time trials are kind of sometimes boring, mostly. We've had some good ones recently, but this one was actually, to me, had a little bit of suspension, but they front loaded it. They expected bad weather early. So when the bad weather, bad weather late. So they front loaded everybody with the big guys going up front. So you tune in for me, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. All the big riders are going, and Bessinger is, as an example, is one of them for EF. You've got all the big guys: Philippe Ugana, Wout, Matthew Van Der Poel, Roglic, Pogacar. All these guys are going out early, and the weather was bad. It was bad from the start, and it got a little bit better, but the heavy rains came. So I think I thought I'd just play this clip real quick. Maybe we just stop sharing this here. Play this clip real quick that I heard on the cycling podcast. This is exactly where I was listening to it when I decided to jump in here this morning. Let's see, it's this one. Okay, so there's a clip here from Jonathan Vaughters yesterday talking about the time trial and Bessinger specifically.
A good ride.
We determined what the best start time would possibly be for Stefan. Now, if the weather changes tomorrow, we're screwed, right? But anyway, so we determined that essentially the most friendly conditions were really early on as a start list because of that. And then, so what are we hoping for? This sounds really weird. What we're hoping for, we want it to be pouring rain tomorrow. I mean, if it's dry when Stefan rides and it's pouring rain for everyone else, that's even better. But like you said, well, why do you want it to be pouring rain for your rider? Why would that be? And the reason is because Stefan as you guys know, doesn't use his brakes. I mean, really, I've never seen anything like that. He goes through the corners in the TT bars and does not touch the brakes. And he oftentimes will lose the back wheel a lot of the time, the front wheel some of the time, and he just brings it back in. And I don't know how he does it. I mean, but the point is he can go around the corners in the wet. He can go around the corners so much faster than Ghana or both Van Aert that he'll win if it's wet. Now, if it's dry, he just had COVID and there's this and there's that. And, Ghana's obviously produces a lot more power than he does. So, yeah.
Well, that was Jonathan Waters talking last night.
Kill this out here. Okay, so obviously, I didn't even. Brian Zimney has a question. Did the teams pick start order within their roster, or did the organizers? I saw Mark Stroller started last, which typically would be his teammate Pogacar start. Yeah. So the teams, when you start off the race, they typically can within reason they slot your team so you can see them all dispersed out, and you can dictate when you want your riders to go, which places. So typically they'll do a runner early, someone else to go out, and then their star depending on the weather. So you've seen this before. Big guys have run early or late depending on what they think the weather is. And yes, the teams do have that ability to pick them. Obviously, this is the only time because the next time it's going to be based on reverse order of the GC. So that's what it is, Bryant, and that's exactly what happened. So I don't know what Vaughters was actually thinking there. If we've all ridden in the rain, not touching your brakes, your back wheel sliding out a lot. These are not things that you would think of as good rain riding criteria. And what do we see? We saw, several. There was only a few crashes that were of what I thought was of importance today. Okay, one was Bessinger early. He crashed once, and then he crashed twice, both times corners. Obviously, there was also some on the same podcast. There's some talk there about how he has his head down more than ever, and the car is piping in kind of when to make turns. That's obviously a little bit dangerous, but he's got that dialed down. Supposedly, this was obviously a problem for him. Then you had Jumbo Visma Laporte. Christophe Laporte. He was running ahead. He was a little bit later on. He was running ahead of everybody at the first check, and then he went down and he lost about 30 seconds. So those are the only two real crashes that I saw that were of significance in a sense. I thought maybe we would run the risk of getting kicked off of YouTube altogether by doing a little bit of the GCN highlights, but I'm going to do it in a way that I think I'm not going to just run them straight out. I'm going to kind of flip around. So you can see maybe we'll just go here. I'm going to have their volume off. That kind of does help a little bit here. Here's their Copenhagen route through the city. So as you can tell, with some pretty sharp turns, actually some a little bike path too, some a little bit more than, and here's the profile, a little bit more than 90 degree. So that obviously has an issue too with your turning and being able to. Now, if it was dry, this would have been a little bit more interesting. I don't want it. I was pulling for Bessinger. I actually picked him, and then he screwed it up, and I guess there was a lot of tension. EF was all excited. But in the end, you had Matthew Van Der Poel has the win. Well, I mean, he has the lead. He's in the box early. And then you had Honoré crashed on a corner and a fan threw a banana peel onto the corner. Now, yeah, I did see that too, Brian. I don't think they threw it as much as maybe they'd have been dropped. Maybe I missed that, right? But there were other wrecks, Brian. I'm just saying I didn't see any wrecks of importance. Okay. So Bessinger definitely has a chance and likelihood of pushing the top of winning. And then Laporte was actually leading when he went down. So that's what I meant by that. But yeah, the banana. Did the banana cause it? Now, that reminds me, there's some options of watching this race. Peacock has the race on, so you can watch actually two versions. You can watch the U.S. version, which is Bob Roll and Phil Liggett, or you can watch the non-U.S. version, which is Nicholas Roach and Ant McCrossan. Okay, those guys on there. But if you have GCN and you have a hotspot or like a what do they call it? A VPN, you can watch it on them too. And now that, to me, that's actually the better. So, and it just made me think of Robbie McEwen was doing the commentary, Sean Yates and a bunch of other guys on there. He was actually saying, did he slip on the banana? I didn't see that. I wish the banana peel caused it, but no, it didn't. Okay. Well, yeah, that's an old person ends up in the hospital, Brian. you slip on a banana peel. Next thing you know, you're almost to the grave. Okay, so let's go back to the race here. It's technical. It would have been interesting to see how some people dealt with this. But in the meantime, so here's the profile, pretty flat, not much else. It started off Leclerc. I'm just going to click through this as stills so you can kind of see here. Leclerc is the first rider out, and it would have really sucked if he was the first rider out and he wasn't able to actually. Okay, we got some other commentary here. Mark Tucker says cycling videos. Mark Tucker cycling videos. Mark Tucker, I guess I should watch some of your Leesville Sunday. Ayo. Yeah, good luck. I'm not really doing any racing and probably not going to do any Villa promo stuff anyway. Leclerc gets the lead. It would have sucked if he would have been passed as a first rider and not really gotten a chance. Then you had still him, Bessinger. So let's just see Bessinger. I think we're going to have some crashes. There's his second crash. So he'd already fallen once. Let's see if they have the first crash in here. I don't think so. So Bessinger, the second crash, he looks really despondent when going down here. Comes across the line, loses 55 seconds. Those helmets, good Lord. Matthew Van Der Poel looked really good. He came in and set the next best time. He gets a chance to be on the hot seat for a while. He passed Chris Hamilton, so that's not looking good for Chris Hamilton there. But Chris is more of a support rider. He does have a chance for the GC stuff though. Roglic looked really solid. Once again, I was just worried that Roglic, especially yesterday, I was just watching kind of the Peacock recap of last year's stuff, and they had some other clips, and it was just an hour, I think, solid of the bike crashes in the Tour from 2021. And Roglic, if you remember, I mean, Jumbo got decimated, except for obviously Vinigo and Sepp Kuss, but Tony Martin goes down hard, hits the guy on the sign, had another crash. Roglic had a nasty fall as well. So I was just thinking maybe I not actually do so well. But he stayed upright. He had a good time, looked good in the rain. Vinigo actually came in half second or 1 second right around with him. Filippo Ganna, you're thinking that he was going to get the time. And I think he came in and just took over the time of Van Der Poel. And then when did Jonas learn to TT? Well, Chris, he did well last year. So, Jonas didn't really come on my radar 2 years ago. He had it was one day in the Tour of Spain that Roglic wins and that where Sepp Kuss had been the man. And all of a sudden there happened to be one day where Jonas did a lot of work, did a really good job for him at like stage 16 or so. And it was really helpful. And they're like, oh, he's there. And all of a sudden, boom, he's coming in. He did a good job also last year, time trialing. He's been doing time trialing all this year. So Filippo Ganna comes in, ends up taking the win, doesn't even get a chance to sit in the hot seat, and Wout decimates him by 3 seconds or so. So, which was pretty solid. Pogačar comes in with another great time just underneath Wout. We'll just keep clicking through here. Wout looked really good though. Pogačar was, I think he put 9 seconds on Roglic though. So he's already got a lot of things. Then Yves Lampert comes in and just pretty much works everybody over 6 seconds or so up on Wout. So it was a solid thing. He was very crying, and I don't know. That's what you have with those guys. So I enjoyed it. Let's see where the route is going tomorrow. We'll take a quick look at kind of the preview and the stages coming up. They spend a few days in Danish area. Once again, we've already played the quote of the Dutch, not liking the Dutch. So we'll keep out of that one. Okay, let me share this up here. We'll get a little preview of so it's Friday, first of all. Everyone knows that, right? Tour de France starts on a Friday. You're saying, what the F? Let's take a look at here what Brian's saying. Brian says, anyone mentioned Lampert's sock height? Yes, that's been the talk of the day, at least in my group chat, which is all the DDA riders. So Jason Smith has had a problem. In fact, I'm not going to bring it up on the screen, but we'll just go here. Actually, who else was having a sock height question was Robbie McEwen. He said he's going to go check out that thing. So has the UCI has zero to say about knee highs? That's what Jason was saying. With the leggings today and the week's Belay's antics, he's begging for a regulation. Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do about that. I mean, I'm surprised the UCI hasn't actually kicked him out. So you've had a few things with the UCI coming in. One was it's actually the French taking on Bahrain Victorious. I don't know, whatever the Bahrain they are now. So who knows what the situation is? They also said sock height is one of their problems. causes, of course, problem children, and now pinning on numbers. So they're like, hey, we really suggest you pin numbers. Just so you know, though, if you were looking today saying, hey, people weren't pinning numbers, no, they're talking mass start races. They still said for the ITTs, you can put them in those little slots. You would think at this point that, and we've talked about this before, and we deal with this all the time with our own bike racing that we do. Pinning numbers, it feels like such an archaic thing that we are still doing. There's got to be a better way. Now, I'm not up for the spraying the number on because it's just a mess. But here you go. So it's Friday. Typically, we start the race on Saturday, and then we have 2 rest days. We got 3 rest days here. We're going to spend our time today. We're in Copenhagen. Tomorrow, let's just take a look here at the race. It's pretty nonchalant route. I mean, it goes from I'm not going to pronounce this, Roskilde to Nyborg, pretty flat. So I expect a sprinty stage, which, we don't have Cavendish. Cavendish was one that everyone, like last year, I'm like, don't bring him. He's going to be a waste. Then he ends up winning a few stages, and you're like, oh, that's impressive. Comes in, wins the British National Championships. He's won some other races this year, and then he doesn't get selected. So what's going to happen with Yves, and we'll get back to some of the results page here, but he's got to be worried about keeping his yellow jersey for fear that another sprinter might actually win the race and do it. So his best bet is to help lead out his own guy, Jakob Philipsen. Is that who it is? Someone help me out here. It's whoever went into the Polish barriers a few years ago with Groenewegen. I think Philipsen was, anyway, we'll get back to who it is. That's a sprinter. That's who came. Cav's not here for that. And that's their best bet, I think, is to get their own sprinter across the line and then leave Yves Lampert to kind of be involved, kind of in the in the top spot there to maybe hold everyone at bay, so he keeps the yellow jersey. So might be able to keep it for a day, and then the next day from Ville to Sanderburg. I think tomorrow they're going across this giant bridge. Fabio Jakobsen. Thank you, Chris. Chris, of course. Welcome back, says Dan Hughees. Thank you, everybody. I don't know how long we're going to be back. We're going to be doing some, my work is out of control, busy. And I got a new little studio set up in the house now. And that's where I'm at right now. But I've got good situation at my office. So I'm going to try to just pump some of these out real quick after the tour that I could do as far as work permitting. But they go over this giant bridge tomorrow. And that's where they're worried about getting blown off into the water, maybe, or just having some bad weather before they actually get to the sprint finish. So that'll be an interesting prospect to see. And then another day, so I see Yves Lampert, we'll look at the overall top to kind of see how the disbursement goes. But another day, possibly in yellow, of staying in there in the land of the Danes. By the way, I heard that they slouched, slighted Bjarne Riis. I guess they didn't get him up and get some credibility or whatever. They're in his homeland, and they didn't make a big deal about it. So then we got Dunkirk to Calais. This is stage 4. And so let's go back to the preview. Back to the stages. So 4, and then Lille to through the Arnberg. Let's take a look at that one, because then they have the rest day, I believe. So, yeah. So this one, it's still there's a few little bumps in here and there. There's just nothing really exciting until they get the Planche de Belfi, which we're going to get be able to get to in a few more days. Stage 7, I want to say. So it's kind of that boring thing. I've been loving the tours that have wicked stuff early on to kind of shake it up, give us a little bit more. I don't know what the riders, how they feel about it, because sometimes you get a little bit concerned when that builds up so much and you don't knock out some of the GC riders early on. If you're not knocking them out early on, everyone thinks they have a chance, right? So all these riders are still thinking they have a chance. Let's look for sprinters here. So Wout can definitely sprint, okay? Remember, he won last stage into Champs-Élysées last year. Now, is he going for the green jersey? That's the word. He's probably going to be sprinting, but is he going to be able to overtake 5 seconds on Yves? Maybe, if there's some bonus times along the way. Pogacar's not a sprinter. Filip Ogana's not a sprinter. Van der Poel, he sprints kind of like that. Mads Pedersen definitely can. He's 15 seconds back. Vingegaard, Roglic, Bauke Mollema, Jan Toons, Magnus Cort can. But so I think Yves going to be able to hold on to his, unless the bonus really comes into play. Should be able to hang on to that until stage let's take a look at the stages one more time. So then they're going to go to Planche de Belfi. That's stage 7 on the 8th of July. So we got a little bit over a week. Which day is the 8th? I don't want to look at the calendar. It's probably like Sunday or something like that. Okay, let's go back to the results. Now we're going to break this down. I'm going to take a look at all the Americans in the race and how they ended up doing. I don't know if we could even get this any bigger for you guys to check it out. This helps a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Joe Dombrowski's first tour. Kevin Vermaak, his first Tour de France, of course. Sepp is becoming an old veteran here. Quinn Simmons, is he out of high school yet? His first tour. Nilsen Palace has been, I think it's his third. Matteo Jorgensen, I think it's his first tour. I don't think he's done it, and I don't think McNulty's done it either. So you're looking at everybody but Sepp. Now, Jovan Dombrowski is really the veteran of a lot of these guys here, but he's been doing the Giro extensively, which he did this year as well. So it'll be interesting to see. He's back. He's now with Astana. So who do we got here? Kevin Vermaak, he could climb fairly well. It'll be interesting. I don't know if any of these guys have any. Matteo McNulty is going to be in the fray because his job is going to be all with Pogacar. So it'll be interesting. He should get a lot of screen time in a sense. He's got a lot of heavy duty work. Matteo can climb well, and he's had some races where he's been up there and prominent, but I just don't see. I see him slipping off, so he should have a support role for someone on who knows, on Movistar, right? The shit show team of the race. Head down, radio is on, when to turn. This is what Dan Hughees says. You must be talking about Bessinger, possibly. Yeah, but either way, he was slip sliding. Listen back if you didn't catch the beginning when I played the clip from Vaughters. Vaughters said he's the fastest through the corner. Now maybe he means into the corner, because if you're not braking and you're not really turning, yeah, you could be super fast in those corners. You may not be the fastest out. And Jonathan Vaughters, that is the key. If you could be the fastest out of the corner, that's possibly where you get the win. Okay, we'll go back to these riders here. So Brandon McNulty is going to be featured. And what I mean by featured is his rider is won the last 2 Tours de France. Brandon has been a big help to him. He's going to be one of the last riders left with him around. So you should be able to, let's actually take a look. Do they have who the whole team UAE? Nope, that's not the roster race for what we have there. Okay, let's just keep going here. Let's see if I could restat this up. All nations and US. Okay. Matteo should be somewhat up there, but you're obviously going to see Nilsen Palace. He's had a good few tours in the breakaway. Remember him with Max Schachmann going racing for California. He did get beat there. He's had some he won tours, San Sebastian last year. He did well just recently at Tour de Suisse. So I think Nilsen's flying right now, doing good, but what that's going to mean, I don't know for them. It's got another comment here from Dan. It says, in the floods, needing tweaking, wrecking. There's a surprise. Yeah, exactly. Sup Cuss, obviously we know his duty. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, he gets any free time to kind of be out. Remember, last year he got it. Vinigo's in the top 3 at the time. Sepp gets in a break with Wout. And there was another rider up there too that ended up dropping out. Wout did a lot of work, dropped back to help Jonas, and Sepp ends up winning the stage there. Solid work. So I see Kevin Vermaak, Joe Dombrowski, and Quinn Simmons as kind of some breakaways. Those are the guys that I don't see. I mean, you've got trying to remember the rider for Astana, but he's hoped for top 10, top 12, which would be his place. DSM, they do have Roman Bardet, but we'll see how he's riding. He kind of ends up flopping at times. So Kevin may have some leeway as well. Quinn Simmons, Trek, I don't know if they really have a GC guy. Bambilo, or maybe one of those, the guy from Italy. It's been a while. I haven't done this podcast for a while, so I don't remember his name. But Quinn might be able to have a chance to float out there as well. So it'd be cool to see if he can. He won the climbing jersey at the Tour de Suisse, which was odd, but he did it by fighting early on the climbs. So that's all. It's good stuff. So obviously we know where the GC is standing here. All nations, go back to that. And as far as sprinters go in the next few days, Caleb Ewing, who do we say his name was? Fabio Jakobsen, Groenewegen. Groenewegen, super fast. I just don't think he's been always putting himself in the right spots. They just don't quite have the lead out. Peter Sagan wins the stage as well. Comes into this not looking quite right. Chris Froome ends up losing a minute today. We also let's share this out by teams. How about Ineos? That's what I wanted to see. Okay, so Ineos, Philip Ogana, 10 seconds off, obviously. Adam Yates looks good there, 23 seconds. Thomas Pidcock for his first Tour de France, 24 seconds. Geraint Thomas, the winner of Tour Swiss at 25. That's pretty solid. They have a good team. Who knows? Daniel Martinez always scares me because he can climb as well. But kind of the outlier and the one we just don't know, for me at least, is Pidcock. But I think he's going to be put definitely in a support role as your first tour, and then probably them and Adam Yates. Israel, Mike Woods, horrible day, 129. Is he gonna? Maybe he's just gonna be going for stage wins. I hope so. Chris Froome, 116. I mean, he's still suffering, but they say he's 10 to 15 watts back to normal. I don't know if I believe that either. Let's see about EF education. Magnus Cort, Nilsson Palace, 20 seconds. That was really good. And you got down that Rigoberto Urán, a minute 14. That guy can either wins race time trials or he just blows up. And let's talk about this. What's with the monster helmets and Geraint racing in a vest? So I heard about Geraint Thomas. He was flabbergasted when he got done. He forgot to take it off. No one told him about it. And so in his interview with, I think it was not Matt White, but someone he was talking to, he was just like, he couldn't believe he forgot. And he's like, I almost, I can imagine these speed demons, aero guys that he actually said he was thinking about taking it off during the race, which would probably been worse. So as it is, he had the vest on. Those monster helmets, Chris, these are all about wind tunnel, what it is. And it's just, we're in an ugly era right now. I don't know what to tell you. I made this joke when I saw the EF bike. I'm like, is it Pride Month in France for July? That's a raucous bike. Anyway, I'm not too impressed with Rigoberto Urán. Let's see what anybody else, any of these other teams here. Team Bike Exchange, do they even have a rider? Michael Matthews, Groenewegen, Movie Star, Matteo, 48 seconds. That's pretty good. Gorka, I mean, they don't really have, they're going to be going for long shots as well. So how about Bahrain? Dylan Twins, pretty good with 20 seconds there. Jan Chantrick, Matteo, Damiano Caruso. Was he third or second in the Giro last year? So there we go. Okay, let's move off of that and see what else we have. Calves out. We talked about that one. And I'm going to do one more little thing here, and then I think we could go. Let's see. Dan talks about monster helmets, direct wind over shoulders, apparently more UK wind tunnel science. In the wet in Denmark, just lovely. So spicy, beautiful. I don't know about any of that. I mean, the helmets, I understand. Once again, the helmets are directed, and they're doing it in a specific reason for aero. I get it. But fashion means something, people. Not to EF, evidently. Okay, Richard Moore ends up passing away. They said, I've tried to find out why. So if you don't know, the cycling podcast is kind of the big deal. That the three men on there, Richard Moore, Daniel Freeb, and Lionel Burney. I've loved their podcast for years. Richard Moore was kind of the impetus of that, pushed that on. Right before Flanders or after that, one of those races, he just dies, and they said from natural causes. And he had just been riding his bike. They just did a podcast about how they were all getting this, and he's been riding for like the last year. He's a former pro. I can't find anything else. It doesn't sound natural to me, but pretty bummed in a sense about that. It's too bad to hear about because it's I just thought anyway, I just thought I'd mention that out there on him. Okay. Last thing I will talk about here, we talked about Bessinger in the rain, is you've probably all been reading about and hearing about this thing with Caitlin Armstrong. No relation to Lance, as far as I know. Could be wrong. Caitlin Armstrong and the gravel issue, the gravel racers. So she was Colin, that's his name, Colin something. I don't remember these people's names. And then he was dating this Mo girl. So Caitlin's his girlfriend. They're both like 36 or so. Then he starts hooking up with this Mo girl, and then he breaks up with her. Then he's back with his girlfriend, but they're not together. And then he buys her a gun, and then he's going to. By the way, have you ever heard of a swimming bar? This is crazy. I think he went to like a burger place with a pool. We don't have one of these here, but it sounds fantastic. They do have those when you go to like Mexico and you have like a swim up bar, palapa bar or something like that. That's the best idea. Point is, Caitlin comes out, murders, allegedly, Mo, and then this is on the 11th of May, comes into he has a warrant for arrest for something completely different. They pick her up, they talk to her. Then the police, I don't know what's going on with Texas police lately, but they kind of suck. Let her go. She gets a false passport or sells her car. We just found out about that. They found the car. I don't think the gun was in there. She flies to Newark, back east. And then there was reports of her being in some camping site up New York. That was all a ruse, because now they just arrested her down. And, this isn't Tour de France related, but there's douches everywhere. And this Colin guy does appear to be, he's someone that I think it's our buddy, our team there, I'm not going to say who, wants to kick him in the nuts. Yeah, he seems like kind of a dirtbag. Would there be any liability to him for being with a crazy person, buying her a gun, and kind of almost gaslighting her in a sense? I don't know. I think she's still the person. Okay, spokesperson for the U.S. Marshals gave an official press release Thursday revealing details of Caitlin Armstrong's capture in Costa Rica. Evidently, she had plastic surgery as well. Passport was real, Mark says, but was not her own. Okay, yeah. I don't even care if, okay, so she must look like someone. Was it her sisters? Are you spoiling the story? This is not, she was apprehended by local authorities in a hostel in Santa Teresa Beach. In a hostel, though, this could be nice, in Costa Rica on the night of Wednesday, 29. The 34-year-old from Austin, Texas, is wanted in the murder of professional cyclist Mariah Wilson, and had been on the run for 43 days after a warrant was issued for her arrest in Austin on May 17th. Now, if you read the arrest warrant, or the arrest warrant, at least the application for it, and the declaration, and they had talked to Colin, he was such a dick. He made, and by the way, okay, we'll keep up with comments here. It was reported that Colin and Caitlin were partners in a vintage RV restoration business. Okay, what? Mark, I'm glad for the info, but what does that have to do with anything? Am I missing some details why I would care about that? I mean, it's interesting. What's more interesting, though, he said he liked dating and going out with Mo because she could keep up. She was a really good rider. He said his girlfriend, he hated riding with her because she couldn't keep up. She was such a girl. I think those are my words, but we all know what he meant. And I'm like, dude, get her an electric bike, something like that. But I get it. Yeah, I mean, you want to ride with someone you enjoy with. I enjoy riding with the boys, right? There's a lot of girls that can beat me right now, though. We're getting spammed. Naked HD sex. How do you get rid of this shit? Block user. There you go. And done. I think we did it. So, wow, this is crazy. What's up with spammers? What's up with that? Was that Mark? Mark, did you spam the chat because I made a comment about the RV restoration? He was trying to claim, okay, here we go. He was trying to claim arm's length and should probably go down with it. Oh, I get it. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, he was still living in the same place. Yes. And then lately he said, look, we weren't even together. And I'm like, but you were lying to her about what you were doing still. You didn't want to tell her you're going out with this girl for a reason, right? We get it. I get it. You're smashing someone else, and now you don't want your crazy girl to know. So that's exactly what was probably happening there. But Colin, anyway, in the declaration, Colin made some crazy comments about his girlfriend, and then he's trying to come back later saying, not so much. Armstrong is currently in police custody in Costa Rica, awaiting deportation to the U.S., where she faces first-degree murder charges as well as federal charge in an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. There'd be a lot of it. She's pretty. One, she shouldn't have gone to a U.S.-friendly country, and two, she shouldn't have. She could have gone further south and then worried about it. Mark says, sorry about that, Chris. You know you're successful when you're getting spammed. I don't think that's the case, Chris. But I think we're done with all that. So read up on that. There's probably more great info about that. Tomorrow's stage, looking for sprints, looking for carnage coming over. And by the way, the first week, as we always know, it's always about how you get your leaders safely across. Is this going to be a problem? Is it going to be jumbo chasing Pogacar? I mean, some people seem to think that the two-prong attack is where you're really going to have it. And I get it, except that what I've seen when there's a two-prong attack, if the one other prong is just stronger, he'll just attack. So you may go, and then you may have counters, and then he's just going to, Pogacar, he's just going to say, F it. He's going to attack, and he's going to just get rid of both of you. But then the nice thing is you'll both be able to chase together. So maybe that's be the case. Anyway, that's it. I hope you guys, hey, I really enjoyed the Giro this year, by the way. Been enjoying a lot of good racing. I used the GCN app. If you guys are interested in how to watch it, once again, GCN, you could do it with a VPN, or you've got Peacock, which you can watch the US version. I don't advise that, or the British version. Let's see. Chris says tomorrow, finishes on an 18-kilometer bridge and a headwind, could be explosive. So the bridge ends, I think, 3K from the finish. So yeah, the last 18K are going to be rough. I imagine they said obviously 18-kilometer bridge is huge. And if there's some winds, yeah, Tacoma Narrows, anybody want a Tacoma Narrows problem? All those engineers out there? That's the show for the day. We did 37 minutes. It's been almost a year, folks, and we came back with a hard-fought 37-minute podcast. We're going to end out with She Sells Sanctuary by the Cult. Hope you enjoy it. That's what we have. What's my outro? Let's do some Dutch stuff, and then we'll end up on the normal out. Take care, everybody.
All right, Gold member. Don't play the laughing boy. There are only two things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
What?